and you're using this to help spread awareness and be able to tap into other people's gifts.
Yeah, the typewriters are really just a tool that we use for positive social interaction. What we found is that when you bring typewriters out, not only are they interesting and people haven't seen them or remember when they had them, but with the youth, especially younger kids, they're just fascinated by them. And you get an opportunity to be really creative, you get an opportunity to enjoy each other's company and kind of unplug from the digital world. Put your phones down, put down your laptops, and not only enjoy writing, not only enjoy being creative, but also enjoy just being in the company of people from all walks of life, all generations, and all age groups.
So your collection of typewriters, when did that begin?
Actually, pretty recently. I've only been collecting about 2.5 years. I got my first typewriter as a birthday gift, and that was just for me personally because I wanted to use one for my own creative purposes. I write poetry and I'm working on some novels. And I found a few more on Craigslist not long after that, and it just kind of snowballed.
So why would someone be interested in writing and doing poetry on a typewriter compared to using a computer?
There's no distraction. That's the reason why I use them, is when I'm trying to be creative, whether it's poetry, prose, longer pieces, whatever it is, I find that on the typewriter, it's just my thoughts, the machine, and paper. And that's it. There's not emails, there's not notifications, there's not things that, take your
YouTube
attention
videos.
away. Yes, YouTube videos, exactly. And it just, for me, I know it doesn't work for everyone, but if you're working on being creative, it's something that you can try to see if it helps you maybe get over some barriers or some writing blocks.
So do you have a favorite typewriter that's pretty much your go-to now when you're starting to do your creative work? Or do you spread out the love? How does that work?
I spread out the love. I use the standard machines, which are the larger sizes. They would be comparable to a desktop now. I use those for my longer pieces, the novels. And for the poetry, I use the portable machines just because I can write anywhere. So I can take them with me. I can be at a park. I can be downtown. And if I get inspired, I can sit down real quick and write something up.
This is fascinating to me because I do a lot of cut and pasting and a lot of spell checking, which we don't have any of that.
Yes, you have to be very deliberate about what you're writing, and it forces you to slow down and think about it. Not that computers don't have value, but when it comes to writing, we become a little bit lazy. We can type 1,000 words and then go back in backspace and change everything around, but you don't have that luxury with a typewriter. So it makes you really think about what you want to say and how you want to say it.
So the typewriters you're using, how old are these typewriters? I'm trying to paint a visual image of watching you do this.
They range. I've got a machine as old as 1888 up to 1970s. And all my machines, with the exception of maybe 5, work.
So if you need equipment or replacement parts, things like that, how do you go about finding those types of things?
Fortunately, there's a very large typewriter association of collectors and repair people. And we all work together to supply each other with parts from other machines, things that may not ever run again. But sometimes you have to fabricate your own replacement pieces. I've had to do that several times.
So you're working with different people and helping students to go back to this really lost art form in a lot of ways. How has the response been for some of your students who maybe have never, I'm sure there are people who probably have never used a typewriter before even.
The biggest thing about people who haven't used one is the amount of strength it takes to actually press the keys. It's a lot different, and it feels a lot different. And I also noticed that the students and a lot of just people in the general public who haven't used one before find the tactile feel of the pressing the keys and watching the type bar go up and strike the page and create the letter really satisfying.
That's really neat, isn't it, Rick?
Well, I just want to jump in and say, I recently got a typewriter.
Fantastic.
And I took it home. It's an electric typewriter, and something has occurred, and it's not working right. So I'm going to be getting with you after the show.
Yeah, absolutely.
Find out how I can fix that. But I totally love what you're talking about as far as taking it back to the simplicity of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of equate it with the people that have a love for
Yes.
Or, when they still have a connection to analog tapes.
Mhm.
And there's just a feel for something, hearing the strokes, feeling the rhythm of it. I totally get what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's really fantastic. And, one thing that's really neat is a lot of the machines that I use are mechanical. And so you can see everything working as you're using the machine, which I think adds to the fascination. And with a typewriter, it's what I would think one of the purest forms of creative writing next to handwriting. Obviously that was original was, anything that was a manuscript and was handwritten. And then once you move into the word processing kind of ideology, we came up with the typewriters. And I think that it gives you the next best, purest form of writing next to actually using a pen and a piece of paper.
You said that you've only been collecting typewriters for a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
When did your love of writing with typing on a typewriter begin?
The first one I got. It was a concept that I was just kind of rolling around. I thought, that would be really neat for my own creative purposes. And when I got one and learned how to use it properly, I instantly fell in love. And I was like, yes, I'm gonna write everything on typewriters. And that's pretty much it. I write about 98% of all of my work on typewriters.
That's so fascinating. I was thinking the other day, I was reading about the different classifications and labels now that we have about the generations. So there's Zennials, there's Millennials, and so I was in the age group where I guess I grew up really young in analog, and then as a young adult, in my college age, everything was digital.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember the first year, my senior year, they got an Apple IIe computer was what they had, which was, I remember doing some Christmas cards and printing out a banner. That was about it. And then I went to college and I took a word processor.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was coming from a little town in Southwest Virginia, and a lot of my roommates who were coming from Northern Virginia, they had already had lots of exposure with computers. They didn't even know what a word processor was. Remember the second semester there, they said, you can't do anything on a word processor or typewriter. It has to be done on the computer. So from that point on, I kind of let that go. But it's interesting to see these generations and how we're moving and melting together and then going back to some of these original forms of writing and creating.
Absolutely, and I think the type-ins that I host are a prime example of that. That's where I bring typewriters out and set them up in the community for people to use. And that's where you can see the entire span of generations all in one place, working together, helping each other, sharing memories and experiences. It's really unique to see everybody come together like that way.
Now, this may be a stupid question, but I'm just going to ask it because it came through my brain. What about paper, the type of paper that you use with a typewriter? Any you have a preference? Any?
I just use regular printer paper. Some papers with the weights and the constructions may become more difficult to feed through the machine, but just for general writing, just standard printer paper works just fine.
So when you're doing these groups, you mentioned they're called
Type-ins.
Type-ins.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you host these types of things, and who are they available for?
They're open and free to everyone, and I work with a lot of businesses downtown. As a matter of fact, I'll be having one today from 12 to 4 at the Broad Street Retro Diner, which is inside of Uncle Sam's Loan Shop there on State Street. But yeah, they're all well received, and we try something very unique with each one. So there's one location, Elderoo, where we do only pre-war machines. So that's the 1800 machines, the early 1900 machines. That really fits the way they have it laid out. They do vinyl, and there's no TVs in there, and so it's a really unique experience. And then have the typewriters, and then Bloom, we do all mid-century because that's the decor. So I do all 40s, 50s, 60s machines.
Now, when you're hosting these classes, do people get the opportunity to sit down and look at the typewriters or work on them a little bit, or how's the evening set up? Or is it basically just observing the typewriters?
No, it's free write. So if you have things that you're already working on, I have several people who are poets and authors and writers who will bring in work and try and type it up. Songwriters, I have found, are really fond of the typewriters. But it's basically you just come in and, I can help you familiarize yourself with the basic mechanics of the machine, and then you just go. It's very, very simple.
That sounds like a fun event, doesn't it, Rick?
I've heard of these typing.
Yeah, I most recently did a typewriter tour of Bristol, where I was in a different location every weekend for 2 months downtown. And that was exhausting, but it was also a lot of fun. And it was an opportunity to give exposure to some of the new or lesser known venues that we have downtown now. So it was very mutually beneficial, to get more exposure for my company and for the typewriters and creative writing, but also to really showcase all the really neat places that there are downtown.
So I can tell that you're passionate about this. What is it like for you when you bring some of these students in and they start to get a feel for it and you can see the excitement in their eyes? Explain to me how that is for you.
That's really what it's all about. Not only do I want to ignite a passion for creativity and writing, but just to do something different, something unique. And when you see students really light up when they get the hang of it, and speed picks up, and you see the wheels turning, and they're coming up with ideas, and all of a sudden they're like, wow, I didn't know that I could even do this. That's really the best part about having this out for the youth anyway. I know people who have been exposed to typewriters just find it nostalgic and they enjoy getting out and using them again, but for the younger people, it's really awesome to see them be creative, because I think that's one thing that we as a society we're struggling with, allowing kids to be creative. It's always color inside lines and do all these things, always parameters, and they don't get a chance to just say, write whatever you want, say whatever you want, do whatever you want. And this is an opportunity for them to be able to do that. And I think that they respond well to it, and the machines are always available. That's one thing about the mechanical machines. They don't need power, they don't need batteries. You set them up and they go. And I think the kids like that too. Whenever they feel creative, whenever they're have that inspiration or something hits them, then they can sit right down and put it out right there. And I think that a lot of kids really respond well to that, as well as that, anytime I want to write something, I can do it. I don't have to stop and turn the computer on and wait for it to boot up, and maybe there's a virus, who knows. It's
That's
just,
right, internet's out,
yeah,
you can't email it to
can't email
yourself.
it to yourself, you can't do anything.
I
Yeah.
know. It's a real issue, yeah. But not with typewriters. Well, thank you for being here. We need to take a quick commercial break. Can you stay with us for a few more minutes?
Absolutely.
I think this would be fun to just open up the phone lines in case somebody wants to share a story that they have. Maybe they've got a typewriter or something like that, or they've got a question for Langley. It's 1-800-469-0098. Again, that's 1-800-469-0098. We'll be back here in just a few minutes. This is your host, Christy Slaughter, on Super Talk Saturday Mornings, WFHG. This is your host, Christy Slaughter, on Super Talk Saturday Mornings on WFHG. We're talking with my special guest, Langley Shazer, about typewriters and this lost art form that's surfacing back up thanks to people like you and the type-ins that we were talking about before the commercial break. Mm-hmm. I was wondering, when you're doing a manuscript, or let's say you're just typing some poetry, we think about publishing. And now, because we're in this internet age where things can be submitted online, works and things like that, how do you go about doing something like that, publishing something that you're putting out there using a typewriter?
Well, and that was really a unique experience for me, because I wanted to maintain the integrity of the piece in its original form. And what I found was most places wouldn't accept typewritten work. And so what I ended up doing was actually starting my own publishing company, Casual Word Publishing. And we have the ability to do images, we can scan them in, handwritten. So just about any way that you want to present your work, we have the ability to do that. We've got writers from all over the world. We've got about 15 writers right now. They're from Puerto Rico, Australia, Palestine, and then we have a lot of them that are local, Abington, Jonesboro, Bristol. So it's a really unique group of writers that I work with, and we're always looking to expand to the writing team, is what I call it. They don't work for me, we work together, and we all support each other on social media, on Instagram, Facebook, and all that. And we support each other's work, and anything that we can do to be constructive and creative in terms of how we want to present a particular collection or a book. We're really, really flexible and have a lot of liberty to do a lot of really neat things.
So if someone has an idea of something that they would like to write, could they come to one of these type-ins and maybe get some ideas and some feedback?
Absolutely, absolutely. It's a great place if you're curious about maybe going in that direction. But even if you just had questions or you had an idea, we can definitely sit down and talk about that. I encourage everyone to bring their manuscripts or their collections, and we can look at them, we can talk about it. But you don't have to wait for a type-in either. You can reach me at thecasualword@gmail.com. I'm on Facebook. You can also go to my website, casualword.com, and see a lot of the events that are happening. You can directly email me through the website if you have questions about typewriters, about repairs and maintenance. I do that as well. Any kind of creative ideas. And we're also partnering with a lot of unique organizations. So I'll be working with the William King Museum to do some creative things. And I was at a maker fair in Kingsport, which was really neat. And out of that, I'll be going to a very large maker fair in Burlington, North Carolina next year. So it does more than just help people write, or you think about creative writing, but when you look at the history of the machines, a lot of people are curious about where they came from and who made them and the history of the companies. So there's a lot more to them than just being machines that you write with.
Okay, if people aren't familiar with typewriters and haven't been in this industry, tell me a little bit about a maker fair. What all does that include?
Well, that was my first time. I've never actually seen one. And it's a collection of people who build things. And we thought the typewriters would be very unique because you can see the inner workings and all the mechanics. And so I brought 5 machines out, and they just ranged in ages, but I wanted to do a best case representation based on my collection of machines that mechanically function differently. So we have machines that would do an up strike, and that's where when you strike a key, the type bar goes up. I have ones that go down, then we have the ones that everybody's familiar with, but they strike forward. And we kind of looked at the progression of the machine from its early conception to what we know as a typewriter today.
Now, I assume that it depends on the manufacturer, what year, the condition and quality of the machine. But if somebody is interested in getting started and saying, hey, I think this would be fun, what kind of price range would we be looking at to get started with a machine?
That's really hard because there are so many variables. But you can typically find a pretty good functioning machine for about $75 here locally. Actually, many of the machines that I own were sourced right here in Bristol from antique stores, from other people who were just going to get rid of them and came to a type-in or whatnot and brought their machines in like, hey, you can just have this. Thank you.
That's wonderful.
And I have some that were from other collectors, and it's really unique. It's a lot of fun, and when I get that question a lot. How much is my typewriter worth? How much should I pay for a typewriter? And without being able to look at the machine to kind of get a feel for it, see what's wrong, what's missing, that's a really hard number to give somebody just saying, this is what I saw the other day, how much is it worth? I don't know, I have to go look at it. But yeah, typically if all the keys work, about $50, $60 is a pretty good price range.
So this could be affordable for people too. And I'm thinking, what a wonderful gift idea for the holidays. If you know someone who enjoys writing or has been talking about doing a book or poetry.
Absolutely, and again, I do repairs and maintenance, so if you do get a machine...
Check it out with Langley, before you put it in a box and gift it.
Absolutely. And I had somebody ask me something really unique at the Maker Faire, was to bring typewriters to a birthday party. So I had never thought of that, but I can do that. If anybody's interested in something of that nature, I would totally be up for bringing some typewriters into a birthday event or any kind of event for that matter.
So you do local organizations, things like that, community events, or if a youth group or church group or something like that wanted to host an event, they could do that. And how many people typically right now, and hopefully, who knows, I'm hoping to just get more typewriters all the time, but how many people can you pretty much work with now on the setup?
30 is probably the cap.
That's a lot of typing.
It's a lot of typing, but it's a really neat sound to hear that many typewriters going at one time. Most recently did a poetry workshop with the Johnson City Public Library youth, and we did 20 machines, and it was amazing to see those kids And the director that I worked with, she said she had never seen them so dialed in and so focused on anything ever. I mean, and they were, I was trying to talk to them while they were writing, and they didn't even hear me. They didn't care. It was like, "Bro, just shut up. Okay, I'm trying to write. You guys got it. Go ahead. Wear it out."
Okay, that makes me a little emotional. That's awesome. Okay, now if there would be something that you could do or create, let's say down the road, a goal that you have or a dream about incorporating what you're doing now, what would that be?
One of the main goals is to create a venue, a brick and mortar, preferably in the downtown Bristol area. This is where I grew up. I'm very dear to my heart, very passionate about seeing Bristol grow and develop, to allow people to come in at any time. So it would be an everyday kind of type in experience. So you come in anytime and sit down and write. And hopefully through grants and other initiatives, we'll be able to keep that part free to the public.
That's incredible. Now, I'm having a little flash in my mind because I am a creative mind generator, but I think it would be so neat to be able to go somewhere like that, dress up like 1950s kind of thing, go in, little white gloves or whatever, and sit down and just create and submerge yourself in that culture and what it was.
Absolutely, and there's a lot of other options too. You know, one thing that we had talked about was being able to rent the space out for brainstorming sessions, you know, corporate brainstorming sessions. You guys put your phones away, put your laptops away, sit down and think creatively about a solution, you know, and have the typewriters help you put that idea down on paper. So we've got some really unique ventures that we're trying to use the typewriters for, just to help everybody move forward and do something a little bit different that may inspire them to make a change or to come up with that idea, that next big idea for their company or for themselves for that matter.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for what you're doing. If you don't mind, give us your contact information again so that people can learn more information. Do you have any additional questions for Langley, Rick?
I don't have any additional questions, not anything I do on air, but.
That's normal. Don't take it personal, Langley.
Yeah, I look forward to digging together and seeing what the typing's all about.
Absolutely. Like I say, if you guys can make it out this afternoon, we'll be at the Broad Street Retro Diner, which is inside of Uncle Sam's on State Street. That's going to be from 12 to 4 today. You guys can find me at casualword@gmail.com. Casualword.com is the website. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram at Casual Word. So you guys can reach me on any of those platforms. You can send me a direct message, shoot me a instant message, whatever they use now. But I try to respond to everybody, so don't be afraid to.
Okay, before we let you go, if you've got just a couple more minutes, we have a caller on the line. Good morning, Christine.
So there are several companies now that produce ribbon in bulk, and there are some other companies that produce ribbon with the replacement spools already attached. So there are companies now that are able to cater to that need specifically.
So that would be something you'd probably want to do online or contact you and you could help
Absolutely.
direct them? Okay, thank you for calling and listening, Christine. Thank you again, Langley,
Thank you
for
guys for having
being
me.
here. And we'll put up your contact information on my Christy Slaughter public profile page after the show. And best of luck to you. Thank you
Thank you.
for bringing this interesting thing here to our community. We'll be back here in just a few minutes. This is your host, Christy Slaughter, on Super Talk Saturday mornings, WFHG 92.9.
All right. I'll get these up.